Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined with longtime friend and entrepreneur, Keith Shenk. Keith, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So we just finished a little over 6-mile walk on the Exeter Rail Trail, and we're back in Pennsylvania, and it was great to get together. I was actually thinking before recording the podcast that we've actually been friends now for 38 years. Which, I mean, personally, I think I should probably get a medal for that. But it's pretty amazing when you think about it that, we've been fortunate that there's a small group of us that have stayed in contact with, that we graduated with or, within a couple of years of each other.
Right.
That have stayed together and, get together and play poker and still enjoy each other's company. And really, when you think about that, it's pretty...
It's
amazing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. And no matter how long it goes in between the last time we see each other, there's we pick up right where we left off. We're throwing jabs at each other and laughing at each other, and seeing who can make a bigger fool out of the next guy.
You got to keep it lighthearted.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, I know I'm personally very grateful for that, especially now that we're traveling. And, I think for me, those moments are just that much more valuable anymore than, and it's not like even when we were all living here that we got together that often. But
Right.
I think for me personally, it's I'm a little bit more grateful for those moments that we have with each other.
And especially as you get older.
Yeah, which we know you're getting up there. So, but I want to talk a little bit about, entrepreneurship and being in business. You and another friend of ours, Russ, have been owners of Petrucci's ice cream down in King of Prussia for a long time now, 20 plus years. 25 years. And that was really something that you guys were somewhat forced into that decision, working in corporate America, for Meridian Bank, which later became Core States
and First Union. Keep on going.
You made the cut a couple mergers in, and then finally, and I think it's something, it's funny because we worked together at Meridian for a while, and I remember a lot of times going into orientation and stuff, people were saying, well, I got into the banking industry because it was secure.
Right.
We heard that so many times. And then all of a sudden, there are a couple times where Meridian was on the acquisition side, and, we're dealing with people from Delaware Trust Company who we knew in the next couple months were going to be let go, and we're kind of, transitioning stuff in. And then, so at what point after transition, did it become evident that, at some point I'm going to be on the other side of this merger process?
Well, right when Core States took over Meridian is when we got out. Then Russ, he was the manager of the department. I was the supervisor of the department. And he came to me one day and just said, what are you going to be doing? And I didn't really know. I know I didn't want to go back into banking. I was tired of it. He just said, would you want to go into business, some kind of business? And I said, we can look at it. So we went to, we looked at different things. And nothing really stood out. But we saw this Petrucci's ice cream in the paper, and he's like, I always wanted to go into a Dairy Queen or some kind of ice cream. I'm like, okay, we can look at it. So we went down and met with the people. They were from Bensalem area, and we tasted the product, and it was like, wow, this is pretty phenomenal. So we made a decision to go for it, and haven't looked back.
Yeah. And originally it was a franchise.
It was.
And then the franchise kind of
dissipated. They kind of wanted to do a Rita's thing. They wanted to get all these stores all over the place without people making money, and it just
Generally, being in business, making money is
it's
generally
important. Yeah.
an objective.
Yeah. So they got sued and they just went out. And, you know, I think there was like, I think when we started there was like 5-6 stores, and then they went up to about 30 in different states and stuff like that. And then it just, the wheels fell off.
Yeah. And what was behind the decision of keeping the Petrucci's name at that point, when there's no longer a franchise involved?
Just everybody knew us as that, and we weren't smart enough to come up with a different name.
Hey, if it was working,
Yeah.
like I say, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right?
Yeah.
So was there, so you guys go into the ice cream business, neither of you have any type of experience whatsoever.
Nope.
And then you're dealing with this franchise that's, you know, kind of faltering and stepping on its own feet throughout the process. So, you know, part of the security of being part of a franchise is being able to lean on them for expertise. Mm-hmm. They go away, so now there's this new learning curve of, all right, here we are just doing it on our own.
Right.
Talk about that transition a little bit from, you know, having this security, and I guess toward the end there wasn't much of a security because the franchise was in such a state of disarray.
Really, when we first got in it, they showed us what to do. We went to a Sunday school, and they showed us how to make all the stuff, and they helped us with our first location, which turned out to be a bad location, but so other than that, you know, showing us how to make all the stuff, and there wasn't really a lot of, for us, there wasn't a lot of help. We were paying royalties on basically nothing. I mean, just using their products and stuff like that, but we didn't get any help from them, really.
Yeah.
They just put us, you know, they told us this location's a good spot, blah, 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 but it really wasn't a good spot for an ice cream store. Not in in the Springtown Center. Mm-hmm. It was not a good spot. And so we battled. We started off, it was tough the first couple of years.
And I mean, part of that is just the growing process of being in business, and, you know, they say the first 5 years of business is really what, you know, so to not have that franchise support that you guys thought you were going to have was pretty difficult.
It was a lot of long hours, and if basically if it wasn't for us moving to the King of Prussia area, we would have been out.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, reflection of that, there's some emotions tied to it. But looking back now, and, you know, looking what you guys went through in those early years, and, you know, again, now you're in King of Prussia, it's a thriving business.
Right.
You know, how does that make you feel? Like, you know, when you look back on those early years and like, holy cow, we did it.
Grateful, yeah. It's amazing what we started at and what we ended up with, and still are today. But it's a totally different world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in those early years, were there any time where you got home after a long day and were like, why are we doing that?
I questioned it all the time. I'm like, Russ, you know, we're having financial difficulties, you know, and this is tough. This is a lot tougher than what I expected. You know, I know my dad was in business, so I know being in business for yourself is not the easiest thing in the world. But man, it was a struggle because of our locations.
Right.
we just didn't have good locations like they said we would.
Right.
And that's basically, I questioned it all the time. And then I just made the decision, out of the blue, a guy in Phoenixville owned the Phoenixville store, and then he built the King of Prussia store. And then he called me one day and said, I can't handle both these stores. I'm like, really? It's like, it's too busy. I'm like, oh, that's something new. We don't know what that is. And I said, Russ, you know what we're doing? We're closing up shop in Berks County, and we're going to King of Prussia.
How tough of a decision was that for you?
Oh, that was, actually, it was not that tough because we weren't doing well. So I thought we needed a change.
Right.
So we got out of Sinking Spring, and he went down to King of Prussia. I was in Blandon. So we did those two stores for 2 years. And then I just said, well, the Blandon store is taking down the King of Prussia store financially. So why don't we just, and the hours were incredibly long for both of us.
Right.
And I'm like, this is dumb. We're just treading water. So why don't we just get out of Berks and just go to one store, and then we can have some time to get away from it. And yeah, that's what we did.
And how much of a relief was that to be able to, not have to be there every single day that you were open?
It was everything. It helped us so much. He took off 3 days, I took off 3 days, and that's how we worked it. And we were there together sometimes, but it was the only downfall to it was the travel.
Right. You're now driving 45 minutes one way to get there.
Right.
But so what would your advice be to, someone new in business who in those first couple years, is having those conversations with yourself like, man, this was potentially the worst decision I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
What would that advice be?
Curtail your expectations. Don't expect to jump out on a, don't expect to make a ton of money right away. It's tough, depending on what you're doing, obviously.
Right.
And your location and all that good stuff, because location's everything for retail.
Right.
But yeah, I would say, keep your expectations not too high to start out.
Do you think your expectations were too high in the beginning?
I really didn't know what to think. I was scared. I was really scared because I'm thinking, what if this just backfires on us and explodes, and what am I gonna do? So I just really didn't have any expectations, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. And how good was it for you guys to be able to, have each other as partners and, kind of be able to lean on each other? And I'm sure there was some venting that took place.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is we were together for a while for the first store, and we did take time away from each other, so it wasn't that bad. And then when I went to Blandon, well, then I wasn't with him at all. So we just talked on the phone. But when we went to King of Prussia, it was a little bit, had to get used to being with him again, because sometimes, he gets on your nerves, as you know.
I'm sure you never got on his nerves.
No, not at all. No. But we made it work. It was, I respected him because we were together for a long time, and he's a good guy. And we didn't really have a lot of issues. Just sometimes I thought we should do one thing one way, and he should, but you get that with anything.
Yeah. And how much did it make it easier? 'Cause like you said, you guys were together in a working relationship, with him as your supervisor at Meridian for, how many years was it that that you guys
Well,
were there before they downsized? Or
I was there. I was there in '88, which you got me the job.
you're welcome. I'll take credit for all the success that you've had because of that.
So I was there in '88, and we left in November '96.
Okay.
Was our last.
So 8 years.
8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So having him in kind of a supervisory role, how much did that kind of ease the process? I mean, because let's face it, Russ was always kind of like another father figure for
Sure.
I think both of us when
Absolutely.
we worked for him.
Yep.
So how did that kind of help you as a younger?
Oh, it was everything. I looked at him for guidance. Absolutely. If it wasn't for him, there's no way. There's no way I would have done it. There's no way. Because I was scared. I was scared beyond my mind on doing this.
Yeah.
He could probably tell you it was a very uncomfortable feeling for me. I'm not a people person to go out and say, talk to people and just go up to people and say, hey, how are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. But when we first opened, I was hidden. I said, Russ, you go get that. Russ, you go get that next one. I'm hidden. I'm hidden in the back of the wall where the milkshake machines are, and I had a hard time coming out. It took me a while to come out to get my first customer. Yeah, it was I was scared. I was really scared, and I just looked for him for guidance, and he made me feel a lot at ease going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how important was having the support of your wife, Patty, throughout that process as well?
Everything she did. Man, you're killing me here. She basically did. I was gone most of the summer. 13-hour days, 6 days a week. When we started catering, she took care of the kids a lot, for the most part, and did all the stuff, housework and all that stuff. And I had the winters off, so I helped, and that was nice to have the winters off. But she was my rock. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, obviously, the way you and I got to know each other back in high school was, through playing baseball together, which is clearly a theme of a lot of my podcasts. What are some of the things that you had learned on the baseball field that you were able to carry over into the business world?
Teamwork. Getting along with your Russ, because when you're playing baseball, you better get along with all your teammates, or it's not going to be a pleasant experience. But yeah, that's teamwork and bouncing things off of each other, and that's basically about it.
So, with employees as being part of that team,
Mm-hmm. I stress it to them all the time.
Yeah, and a lot of times you're dealing with younger employees,
Right.
just like I was dealing with at the complex. So, even though you say you're not a people person, just the way I think Russ took us under his wings as young employees when we started at Meridian,
Right.
do you find yourself taking some of those younger employees, kind of under your wing and realizing that they're probably not going to have a career
Right.
at Petrucci's, but there's going to be some things they're going to learn there that may help them
Right.
down the road. So
Right.
how do you approach that?
I'm almost like a coach. It's weird because I have a girl that's plays softball, and she told me the other day, she's like, "You sound like my coach." I'm like, "Well, how's that?" And she says, because the guidance you give us, you're always on us when we're slacking. And you're just a good boss to be around, and you take care of us and make sure everything's going well with us. And because when there's lines of people, I have this habit of saying, hustle, let's go, let's chop, let's hustle. I'm always telling them to hustle. And when if somebody's making a shake and the next person's not doing anything, waiting for somebody, I'm be a good team member and go clean the shake. If they make a mess,
Right.
Don't just let them make up their clean up their own mess. If it's gonna work, you gotta play as a team.
Yeah.
It's just like baseball. Cleaning, they do it as a team. And I try to steer them to, I try to help them out. I try to raise their pay, and when they're doing well, and give them, I just lost my train of thought.
I think just giving them some guidance and helping them along the
Just
way,
steer
coaching
them
each way.
along the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in this climate of a global economy and the WalMarts and Amazons and Targets of the world, how important is it to still, in your opinion, to still have a thriving small business community to be able to get us to where we want to be socially?
It's very important for small businesses. Small businesses are where what makes this country. Without small business, you can't compete with a larger business. These places are starting at $16, $17, $18 an hour for some of these kids, and you can't compete with that. But I just think the small business is where it's at. And a lot of the small businesses, they put their life into their work, and if it doesn't work out for them, what are they gonna do?
Right. So, give yourself a little plug. If somebody's listening to this and is down in the King of Prussia area, how would they find Petrucci's?
Go on Google. It's 670 North Henderson Road. It's off of 202. And for some reason, when I tell people that we're in King of Prussia, they think we're in the mall.
Right.
King of Prussia is not just a mall. It's a setting. It's a setting like the Ole Turnpike Dairy. It's on a farm. We have horses, goats. You can feed the goats. They have pigs, cows, and they used to have a greenhouse, but that went out of business. But it's just nice. You don't think you're in King of Prussia when you're actually there. It's just a setting that you've been there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just a setting that phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it ain't hard to find.
We haven't been there with the RV. Is there enough parking for an RV?
Yeah.
Is there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Cool.
They added, the township owns the property, and they added, since the greenhouse left, they added a bunch of parking spots.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So you got like a whole petting zoo thing going on there, and then the ice cream and all that.
You can even get,
stuff.
people come from Philadelphia to get spring water also. It's on a spring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So that that brings us to our final question. As you know, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, which comes from the opening lyrics of a Michael Franti song, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. So it's one of the little things that Keith does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place.
Well, I make a lot of kids happy.
The ice cream man.
The ice cream man, yeah. I think as a business owner, I think I never say no to people that want donations or fundraisers. We have tons of fundraisers for schools, and some people want whatever kind of donation I don't ever say no. We give out, I think I give out like over 5,000 coupons to kids in school districts every year, and I just like helping. I like helping everybody out in the community, and I think they appreciate it. And I'm one of, unfortunately, I'm one of not many businesses that do this.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back to what we said about small businesses in general. You know, I mean, if you ever, and I ran a nonprofit for 30 years, and I know trying to get any sort of donation out of a Walmart or a Target or, you know, it's like giving your firstborn.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the other things that, you know, small businesses always have that heart to give back because you are part of the community.
Right.
You know, and it's not just about selling ice cream cones and milkshakes. It's really being part of the community.
And they're keeping you in business.
Yeah.
Basically, that because you're basically hoping your community comes to your establishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a daily basis.
I love that. I think that's really important. And I guess it comes back to the point where, you know, you also remember a time when early on in business you couldn't say yes to everyone.
Right.
You know, as a matter of fact, it was probably very difficult to say yes to anyone
right.
at that point.
You're
so
right. Yeah.
I think, you know, now 25 years in and being able to reap those success, I think it says a lot, you know, about both yourself and Russ to want to give back now that you're in a position to give back.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm ecstatic when people ask me for stuff. I'm like, yeah, I have no problem. And they're kind of surprised. They're like, wow, I can't believe you give all this stuff out. I'm like, well, you're the reason why we're in business.
Right.
Why wouldn't I?
Right.
So, yeah, it makes me happy to do that.
Cool. I love it. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate you hiking with me today and coming out and, you know, just taking a walk, knowing what Sandy and I have gone through the past week. Very appreciative there, and looking forward to the next time we can get together and I can take some of your money and poker. So,
other way around, man.
And for those out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at danclouser.com, and be sure to check out Amazon for The Beauty of a Diamond for the Eyes of a Coach and The Journey of My Mother's Son, Volume 1. Keith, thanks again for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.